Welcome back. We're still on with Dr. Sam Amadi, who is joining us once again on the program. Thank you. Now let's continue with this. What exactly is this all about? The fixed charges, investors insisting it would not be removed, and Nigeria is complaining. What's your assessment of the entire situation?
Well, I think, one of the participants in that workshop on the public hearing on fixed charge made a salient point. Says, look, that NERC is the only regulator in the country in the sense that there's only one whose pricing is a matter of public policy and public notice. That's why we have problem. Many other utilities, people price instance, I don't even know what you're paying. You just pay. Like we pay for your water rates, you pay your telephone. There are service charges, fixed charges component. But because the model we are building is a model of transparent regulation, you have to really get the public to participate. Now, the issue is this. Fixed charge is a constant normal, whether some places call it service charge. It's part of regulating utilities, and they go to recover cost spent for capital investment. Now we're talking about gas. Take, for example, let's take gas. Now the only reason why anybody's going to put a competition of gas in the long term is that somebody looks at the price of gas, look at the price of transport of gas, and then make investment either in gas processing or gas infrastructure. Now, assuming they make those investments, time could come when, for whatever reason, vandalization, all kinds of things happening, that no gas is passing through. But those investments have been made. So fixed charge is that element of the tariff that recovers capital investments that are not usually contingent on supply availability. Two, people talk about the meters, transformer has blown up. Now, a transformer is put there and it blows up. You won't tell the consumer in that district to wait until next tariff review so that we will not put money for, no, they're going to buy a new transformer. That is part of what the fixed charge does. Capital installations, cost of, and then maintenance. Now, what this therefore means is that if your power supply is still unstable like ours, and then you ask people to recover their money based on energy charge, energy consumed, which is what the energy charge responds to, then there will be serious under recovery. So that's the basic. So to allow for much recovery, we split into two: fixed charge component and energy charge component. Now the fixed charge component, which is usually in many places about 50-50, but here after this review about 30-70. So we depress the fixed charge because we know that oftentimes people may not have enough supply, and therefore it appears punitive that they're paying monthly and they don't have power. Now, in the last review we did, we also, instead of increasing the fixed charge, fixed charge was supposed to have increased to, for example, for those in Abuja, from 750 to 100 and something. Those for Benin about 750 to 150. But we kept it where it was. Now the debate is this. People say 2 months, 1 month, for whatever reason, maybe in some cases, no power. Why should I pay? I make a review and took the view that perhaps there are some cutoff point where no supply should lead to not paying fixed charge, not collecting fixed charge. So we say, fine, there should be a minimum service level. If you don't have power up to 15 days continuously, then is it fair to pay or not to pay? That's the debate. So the distribution companies have a 5.2. They say, look, part of our expectation of revenue requirement is that we're going to recover our revenue, and that revenue has been benchmarked to fixed charge. We're usually in charge of the factors that lead to outages where there's no power. We would like to have power and serve our customers 24 hours and make more money, bottom line. So to penalize us for problems that are system problems, structural problems, maybe from TCN, XY, from Gencos, they don't have power to supply, will be very punitive and will not serve the, will undermine the financial viability of this sector. Now the fair argument, the other argument from the consumer groups is that, look, but there are some of these outages that is caused because you're not responsive. So maybe you could have come to remove the wire, change the wire, put something there. You don't care because you're getting this fixed charge that's guaranteed revenue for you. Then I say, look, you must therefore, there's a way in which you must be put under the hot seat to be more responsive because you stand to lose something financially. Now the regulator, the law says the best practice is to call for public hearing so that everybody's voice is heard. We are like the judge in some cases. We sit back and get the best evidence. So we make decisions on best evidence. And that best evidence is built around two models, two key principles. One is the principle of financial viability. If there is no financial viability, there will be no service improvement. The second model is a model of fairness and affordability, reasonable pricing. Is it fair to consumers not to have power for 30 days, 15 days, and then they are still stuck with fixed charge?
What has become more worrisome right now is this revelation: 48% of Nigerians have access to electricity, according to World Bank study of 2011. So now we're just wondering, what are the Jankos and Discos doing, to help improve power, apart from, the federal government coming in to intervene by way of 25 billion offsetting debt?
When the World Bank says 48% or whatever percentage, these are people who have no access at all, people who are not connected. So if they're not connected, they're not part of the Discos customers for now. But what the Discos will do is that we say there are three ways to expand access. One is the Discos make investment for expansion, and it happens every day. If somebody builds in a house where there's no light, we have a regulation called connection regulation that allows for new connection. So you pay some fees, the print pole, and then connect it. But what has happened is that the rate of rural electrification is slow. And what that means that the government has set up a rural electrification agency and is being reviewed. So the major mandate of expansion to rural areas that are not commercially viable for Discos. There are many rural parts of Nigeria where the cost of laying a line all the way from where the grid is to that village will be prohibitive for a Disco. And if you compare with what they can charge, it's prohibitive. So they'll be charging maybe upward of 50 Naira per kilowatt hour, and that will be madness. So they're not the most investment. Now this is where using renewable, using embedded generation, like a regulation which NERC has made, the Rural Development Agency can now auction for solar, wind, and solar energy, and then provide small solutions to those communities. I think Minister of Power, the other time, Minister spoke about Electrify Nigeria project. The idea now is to connect unconnected communities in an economically viable model, usually using standalone small power. So NERC has provided a regulatory framework for that. We have the independent electricity distribution network that allows for microgrid. We have the embedded regulation that allows for people to put power plants embedded in that Disco. So for example, in Abuja, assuming there are where people don't have power, somebody can put a project, let's say 5 megawatts power plant, it's somewhere in that area, and use it for only that environment and use Abuja Disco to distribute that power. So really, I think if the REA, if the reform being projected, and REA becomes more efficient and more innovative and creative, and not just an instrument for transformer distribution like a constituency project, that's not the model for electrification. That's doing the work that Disco should do. Is Disco's province, based on proper tariff and proper financial framework, to provide transformer in areas that are connected. The work of our REA should be to provide modular power to areas that are not connected to the grid, and if that's done, we'll quickly reduce the percentage of unelectrified Nigerian communities.
But there'll be a review of MITO later in the year?
Well, the commitment we had with the new owners before the board was that when they do their ATC and sale losses review studies and we verify and we see a discrepancy in that formula, we'll make them good again. We'll go back and rebuild the general model. So before term is declared, we hope to complete consultation with the public and with the stakeholders to look at what the results of the review studies show us about the projections in the MITO. And if the result is there are differences, we are bound by law to review that MITO. But this is not going to be a full review. This is just a review of those elements, and that's why it's been called MITO 2.1. So just additional to make sure that the losses levels are properly benchmarked.
So in other words, what you're saying clearly is that there is a lot of hope for more megawatts to be supplied, given the fact that the president said we're aiming to get 20,000 megawatts by 2020?
Yes, we're going to have more megawatts. I mean, if our gas stock today, that's miserable. So leaders down, fear no fall. We already, if we are down, we need to go up. No other place to go. We can't go down. We have to get more. The question is how much more, and that depends on how much hard we work, how much smart we work.
You sound very optimistic right now, unlike 2 months ago.
I sound very measured. My optimism is measured. It's always contingent on what we do. You see, there are no magic to conjure up results without work. Some of this work will require being bold to dismantle special interests.
True.
Some of them will require, crushing bastions of corruption. Some of them will, sometimes, in society we know what should be done, but we can't do them because we are humbled. So my view is, look, we can generate 10,000 megawatts, we can generate 6, we can generate 5.
If
what we generate will depend on how creative, how stubborn we are, and how ruthless we are to push through special interests. Because it's not just Nigeria, everywhere in the world.
And that exactly is the problem. This special interest seems to have been brewing over the years. Are you going to surmount that now?
It can never rule out special interest in the world. It's the nature of society that special interest. Special interest simply means organized interest groups.
True.
For example, if you want to, we're talking about review of tariff. The discos are organized special group. They would like to put pressure on NERC to have more tariff for them. Consumers are special group, but probably unorganized. And it's time now to organize them. Now, NERC as a regulator has to advise itself that you are dealing with an area mined with special interest, people who would like to get better bargain than serves public interest. Our job is to push back.
All right. On this note, we really hope and cross our fingers that there will be a lot of changes before year end, according to you at least.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Amadi. Thank you for your time.
Good.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Well, thank you as always for your views and comments. Keep them coming using the address and Twitter handle on your screen. And don't forget, you can view the program on youtube.com/channels/web/videos, and you can make your comments and after viewing the current video as well as other episodes of the program. Thank you so much for watching this week. You can drop your comments, as I said, and see you next week. I'm Gloria Umuzuke.